A warning from a South African to...
They came out in their thousands for a day of xenophobic rage across South Africa. Protesters brandishing batons and flags had a simple demand: undocumented migrants must leave the country by today.
This is probably one of the biggest law enforcement operations in recent South African history. Where we are, in Durban, it's one of the key hotspots. The city, there are police everywhere.
Anger towards foreigners has been brewing for months. These protesters claim they are taking up jobs and committing crimes. Tens of thousands of migrants have already left. The campaign has been led by this man, Phakela Ontakati. Dressed in traditional Zulu clothes, he's quickly gained followers and influence, and even met with South Africa's president last night. They came out in their thousands.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Musings Abdu, and you are watching Pan-African Climate Focus. What we are going to be speaking about, we are going to be speaking about the situation of South Africa. South Africa today is at crossroads with the rest of Africa. It is at the point of falling out or maintaining its relationship with the rest of Africa. What is all causing this controversy is from the ultimatum that was given to the African foreigners that have been staying in South Africa by groups that have been South African nationalists, are saying that Africans who are living in South Africa are struggling or are competing for the scarce resources with the rest of the South Africans. People like Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, who is a former radio presenter, is among the leading outspoken activists, putting her hand directly onto this issue. As I have highlighted the reasons that people who are foreigners but living in South Africa, they are out-competing South Africans onto the scarce resources like employment, the scarce hospitals, and the rest of the resources are the reasons to trigger this expulsion. Let's watch how all of this really unveiled before we venture into our discussion, because our discussion is not going to be mainly about the today struggle or the today situation of South Africa, but our discussion is going to dwell too much onto what is the real problem South Africa is facing. Is it the what the protesters are trying to put forward as the reasons for their suffering, as really the real cause for the South African suffering, for the scarce resources that the South Africans are arguing that is the reason for expelling foreigners?
A warning from a South African to a refugee.
Close as soon as possible.
A crowd is coming, and they're hunting for foreigners. The warning is heeded. The shop is closed just in time. As the small mob approaches.
It's a small crowd, but an intimidating one. They've got a very astute sense of their establishments that might be foreign-owned. And then when they do see one, they go speak to the neighbors or the people near a place and tell them that you must warn them, you must tell the foreigners to leave. So there is this real door-to-door campaign happening here in Soweto, but also in areas across South Africa and across Johannesburg.
They're on a mission, drawing in neighbors and bystanders here in Soweto, but not without resistance.
Until the other group of...
Peter Manette is an activist working to protect migrants in his community.
They've already taken decision that they will close the shops. It's hard to really 100% control everything, but at least when we are here, we know that they can't just do as they wish, because they know that we are against what is happening.
Thousands have been marching across South Africa, rallying against illegal immigration and calling for African nationals, undocumented and documented, to leave. With harassment and extrajudicial violence on the rise. People of all ages are joining these regular neighborhood protests to keep the foreigners on notice.
When will you stop? When will you say my job is done?
When all of them are gone. Not 80% gone. When all of them are gone, then I'll say my job is done. Or unless, if I say the job is done is when I'm dead. That's when I say I'm done.
Their protest makes a stop here, at their local police station, to deliver a memorandum.
Other businesses found to be operating.
So, what you are watching is the real situation as it was unfolding in South Africa. Those are foreigners that are being told to leave South Africa. They are being warned in advance that they should not wait for the 30th ultimatum date, but they should rather leave earlier before that date, because what was to unfold against them was going to not only be bad, but was going to be devastating against them. So it is upon this background that in our video today, we are going to be exploring into these South African problems, comparing them with the rest of Africa, trying to understand is really the problem originating from the foreigners living in South Africa, or is there any other problem that the South Africans are not addressing, and it is the cause of their suffering, the cause of the limited social services, the limited resources that they say today they are in a competition with the rest of Africans whom they want to leave South Africa. Let's continue watching.
With them, we know that they are not South Africans. Others, when they come, they will tell us they are here to visit our aunt. And then we find out from them that I am from Zim. I'm here to visit my aunt. Also find out now he has already spent over 7 years in our country.
As John meets with the station commander, 4 men are brought in. 3 from Ethiopia and 1 man from Lesotho, under citizen's arrest that's unlawful under the Immigration Act. The crowd is pleased, but it's not enough. They want more and plead with the police to take action.
please help us.
So, we have been working together, but don't violate, don't beat people, don't assault people. You give us information like the way you give us information, we're going to arrest the people.
Back on the streets, they search the shops and spread the word, demanding that everyone join their cause, in spite of the upset. Their marches ended and the coast is now clear. The shop warned to close is back in business.
For now, I don't want to go back to Ethiopia because there's still war in Ethiopia.
What made you come to South Africa? Why did you choose South Africa?
Because there's peace in South Africa.
See all this. It was for here.
That peace is now under threat. South of Soweto, foreigners are reckoning with mob violence.
So now I was skating because he wanted to come inside. I said, no, it's going to kill me. Then I came outside through the window. Then when I came outside, now I look like maybe I'm there, Papa now. Just taking the guns, hitting in my head.
The sun is setting over these troubled neighborhoods in Johannesburg, fractured by the...
Credit for the video is due to Sky Sports. They are the ones who took this video that today we are trying to analyze. And as you've seen in the video, the South African authorities, that is, including the police, it has not declared that the move against foreigners or Africans is illegal, but rather they are saying that it should be peaceful. So, in other words, it is blessed by even including those ones in authority. We shall not over-zero onto that fact too much. But as you've seen, that people in South Africa have been given ultimatum, or they were given ultimatum to leave South Africa. And up to date, very many countries have taken action to continue vacating their nationalists from South Africa, and others are continuing to vacate their nationalists from South Africa. We want to look into what exactly are the reasons South Africans and very many experts in South Africa and those ones in authority, those ones who are really agitating for the South Africans, rather for the foreigners to leave South Africa. Or what are these reasons they are trying to put forward that is forcing them to expel foreigners or those ones they consider are not original South Africans? Look.
Jobs and resources. People are fighting for scarce resources, limited resources. We are struggling to get our children into schools. We are struggling to get our old people into hospitals because our resources simply can't take all of us.
The minute they come in here, they come with babies on their backs, and then everyone forgets that South Africans has its own babies that it needs to take care of. They have children, they must take care of those children in their own countries.
With South Africa's official...
So, those are reasons, or among the reasons, those people who are in favor of the non-nationals in South Africa to live or living are advancing. They say that non-nationals or foreigners in South Africa are out-competing them in scarce resources, including employment, including the small healthcare services, among other services, as you have heard them trying to put the reasons forward. But there are more reasons.
On top of all of this, misinformation shared online further sours tensions.
You know, the political parties are scraping the bottom of the barrel in trying to lie to people that it's the problem, all our problems are the migrants, and if we get rid of the migrants, then we'll have no problems in South Africa.
With youth unemployment at around 60%, migrants are often accused of taking away precious jobs from South Africans. Under pressure to act, the government has announced new ways to manage migration. It all comes as official figures show that between 2020 and 2025, South Africa's deportations have more than tripled, rising from almost 15,000 a year to over 57,000. High unemployment, deep inequality, weak public services. These are concerns many in South Africa recognize. For some, expelling migrants feels like a way to reclaim control. But as the deadline looms, for many migrants in the country, it feels like a new wave of violence could be coming. What is clear is that unless those underlying pressures are tackled, the temptation to blame outsiders is likely.
They came out in their thousands for a day of xenophobic rage across South Africa.
So, ladies and gentlemen, those are reasons, as you have seen, that are being advanced by those ones who are South African nationalists. And you have those ones, you have heard those ones who have some dissenting voices. Today, after having had all that background, and after having had all those reasons being put forward, I think there is a much bigger problem, a much bigger global problem that must be handled, that people in South Africa, people in South African authority, that people who are leading these strikes against non-nationals are not addressing or are not putting forward, are not putting out. South Africa, first of all, is not any different or is not in isolation of any or of the rest of Africa. And as such, as Africa, we all understand most of our problems are much interconnected. Today, we have been speaking about that we have a problem of climate change. We have gone ahead to mention that climate change is a threat multiplier. If you have been attending previous presentations from Pan-African Climate Focus, climate change is a threat multiplier, and it is a threat multiplier indeed. So while I'm forwarding or I'm putting forward my reasoning of South Africa and those ones in favor of chasing away non-nationals, the reasons they are trying to advance, I want to bring in the factor of the climate crisis, because climate crisis is not only an environmental crisis, but rather it goes beyond, and it goes into the jurisdictions, or it is already going into the jurisdictions of peace and security, governance in as far as Africa is concerned, and other aspects. And today, when we over-limit the problem of South Africa onto foreigners, it is to miss a point. South Africa, right away from 98, has been struggling under climate crisis. But despite this climate crisis, the impacts have been very significant, but have never been addressed. Just not South Africa alone, the neighboring countries have been suffering from the same problem of climate crisis. So, if you can remember, floods like the Durban floods in 2022, and among others, among floods right out from 98, like the Indai floods. These floods have been affecting farms. In other words, they have been affecting the most crucial sector, that is the agricultural sector, that is meant to be a biggest employer of the African working class. So, very many people, when floods have been affecting Africa, they have been left unemployed. Those who have been left unemployed have been doing internal displacement, moving from rural areas into the urban centers. Like the likes of Johannesburg, into the suburbs of Durban, the suburbs of, among other suburbs, let me say. Remember that land in South Africa is only in the hands, or most part of their land is in the hands of the white settlers. So it means that these black Africans, today you are seeing on streets chasing away fellow Africans, they are not practicing agriculture. Therefore, many of them, remember, they are the biggest population in South Africa. And if they don't have land, it means they are employed. And the small land that they maintain in their hands is exposed to the problems or to the impacts of climate crisis. So, no wonder that today we are seeing the problem of unemployment. We talk about hospitals. You have heard them in their speeches that hospitals can no longer serve their people together with the foreigners. In other words, there is competition. But time and again, hospitals have been being swept away by these floods. They have been overwhelmed by a number of people who are moving from the rural areas, antagonized by the climate crisis, into the urban areas, causing, rather multiplying the problem. As we always have said, that climate crisis is the multiplier. It has been multiplying. But maybe, before we move too much, let me first show you this video trying to show the circumstances or the crisis, the climate crisis that has been occurring in South Africa in terms of floods and many other crises. Those are in terms of floods.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa visited Durban to meet people affected by the floods and landslides that have devastated the city.
We're thankful you've given us this opportunity to see for ourselves and also to meet with you.
Days of driving rain flooded several areas across the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and mudslides tore houses apart. This is all that's left of John Bapedi's home. It's completely gone, but he and his family managed to escape with their lives.
We tried to run away, my young children, my young boy. The tabat, the soil, gone over on top. Now we try to take the children down on the soil. Lucky we found it.
Others weren't so fortunate.
My neighbors, they tried to assist me. It took 2 hours. After 2 hours, I will survive. But unfortunately, my child. Not survive that day.
The storm was powerful enough to pick up and toss aside freight containers at Durban Port, the largest and busiest shipping terminal in sub-Saharan Africa. Now it's a wasteland. Roads have also caved in, making it dangerous for people to pass and slowing down emergency crews trying to reach the area by road. A lull in the bad weather has allowed rescue helicopters to operate.
So, what you are saying, as the climate crisis in South Africa has not begun today, it has been there during the times from 98. Up to today, that problem is still persisting. Roads and infrastructure are being crushed down. Hospitals are being crushed down. Agriculture as an industry or as the major employer of Africans and in particular South Africans is impacted heavily and significantly. You can see by the mere demonstrations from the images. You look at other instances of climate change. This one is just an example, but there are other instances like the droughts in South Africa. All these instances have not been operating in isolation, but they have found a fragile governance crisis in South Africa. They have found the inequality in provision of social services and the unwillingness to address the problems in South Africa. So, the threat has been today multiplied, and we can say that it is simply the immigration problem is simply a trigger, but there have been other long-term problems, and this one has just been immediate. So today it's where we are beginning to look about how can we address South African problem, and because this problem is not only in isolation of South Africa, but it is a problem with the rest of Africa. This is where we start to talk about issues like adaptation, finance. So, we are lucky that African negotiators have been present at the intersectional conferences like the Bonn Conference and other conferences, and we are fast approaching COP31 it is at this point that while we are looking at the problems of Africa and adaptation in context, we should be looking at adaptation that is tailored towards the problems of Africa, like the problems of legitimate governance, the problems of lack of peace or of insecurity, because as you can relate to the rest of Africa or to the rest of Africa, you can talk about problems in the Sahel that include security and lack of peace. You can talk about Sudan. Now, today, you are talking about the problem of migration. These problems are not in isolation. They are just a pattern of the climate crisis, and they are just trying to multiply time and again. In opportunities like this, like the COP31, it's where today we implore that African negotiators should not only stop focusing on trying to advocate for people to understand that the climate impact is real, and maybe to advocate for only adaptation finance or other climate finances, but also they should be thinking about climate governance or adopting global policies that are tailored toward the thinking about addressing peace and security, governance, inclusion, among other issues. The adaptation should be thought in that a way that is tailored towards handling African problems like we are facing today, the problems of immigration, the climate, or at this point, we are thinking that the problems of South Africa today are not going to be handled anywhere, but again at the climate table. So what is the role of, or what role can organizations like ECOWAS and the African Union play? It is, I think, an opportunity for these organizations already credited with evidence at the African continent to be able or to position themselves to embrace with this opportunity to champion an adaptation method that is capable of handling Africa's peace, security, and governance issues, including immigration, like as is in South Africa today. The adaptation that is also being talked about, it should be that accessible by countries that are in turmoil, like South Africa and the Sahel region as of today, not only limited to the Sahel, but to the rest of African problems.